Morning, everybody. There's 4 tough speakers to follow, so I'll hope you take it easy on me. And I was really pleased to hear that Howie was wearing pants because I had to put high heels on this morning and then remind myself how to walk in high heels. So anyway, distinguished guests and friends, thank you very much for the time. It really is a privilege to be here. And I think we're all feeling just so inspired to be here in person and to see people and to see that, especially here in Singapore, we really are leading the way in getting back to the next normal. I'm going to spend a bit of time this morning. My name's Leanne Taylor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Citrix. And I'm really in a privileged position as part of Citrix on how we're helping our customers take that journey to the cloud in a very accelerated manner. I'll spend the next 15 to 20 minutes this morning just talking through a couple of things. One is a little about Citrix and what we've learned through this period. I've got a super story to share with you about one of our customers and the journey that they went through this period, and then a little bit about organizations and research that we found and that we're working on. So with that, I'll kick off. So at Citrix, what we realized is each one of us work for an organization. And those organizations, no matter what we do with them, really the performance comes from the people. And so our role is, how do we enable people? How do we scale with what we're doing through technology in order to get the performance that we're looking to do, and in order to enable all the people that work for us to support their customers and their end users and the manners? We need to make sure that we're finding talent, that we're attracting talent, and then that we're enabling that talent to be able to deliver. Yeah. And so part of what we're looking to do and what we're working with is, what role do we play in accelerating talent to perform? One of the pieces to share with you, and I do have some slides actually. Let me put those on if I. Yep. Right. Oh, are we going forward? There's a bit of delay. Just bear with me. All right. We'll do it without slides. We'll listen to me. So we worked with Sydney University, and one of the things that happened at the beginning of last year in Australia is that they underwent some really, really horrific bushfires. And that was the first event that happened to Sydney University. They're across about 22 odd physical locations, so on-premise locations. They have about 80,000 students. It is work. Thank you very much. There we go. They're across about 22 locations. They have 80,000 students. And some of the challenge that they faced and found themselves in very quickly is a number of those students come through to the university from China every year. And when COVID hit and the borders shut, all of a sudden there were 16,000 students who weren't able to travel, and they weren't able to join this physical world and continue with their education. And so we worked alongside Sydney University, and it took us 7 days. And this is really the power of cloud computing. It took us 7 days to have them moved from an on-premise world into a fully virtual world where all 80,000 students could access everything that they do remotely. So we moved into virtual labs, we moved into all their apps and data into a virtual environment, and we enabled all of those students to continue with their education. And the model that we've heard all the speakers talk about, and I'm sure as we spend the rest of today talking around, really is, this is the power of transformation, and it's the power of acceleration that we can get to. And when you look at this, there were 3 main things that we learned out of this journey. We realized and recognized that had we not been able to work with Sydney University and many universities around the world, we would have had an entire generation of students who weren't able to continue what they were doing, and they would all have been a year behind. And that would have had material impact for them as they went through, and some of them may not have continued their education. It would have had a fundamental revenue impact to the university. We all know that these are not easy to run, and the business impact of doing so. But importantly, the third element that we realized is that we were able to help universities accelerate moving into a fully hybrid model of either being available on premise or being available virtually. And I think as we go forward, and we were chatting, Prof. Fink, at the table a little earlier, this world of talent is changing. What early talent is coming out and wanting from the workplace is changing as well. And what I think is super important is that we're starting to recognize that in order to operate our organizations in the manner that we do, and in order to deliver the performance that we're wanting to deliver, it's about talent. And it's not just about the talent that would have been present when I started in the workforce a very long time ago. We're looking at neurodiverse talent. How do we create an environment where strong introverted thinkers or neurodiverse thinkers don't necessarily want to be in this on-prem busy world? How do we enable to make sure that there's entire talent pool that we're servicing perhaps for mums returning back from staying at home and enabling them not to be in the office for 10 or 12 hours a day? At Citrix, we've been very privileged because this is the model we've always worked for. There is no concept of where are you working today, which office are you working in. Before COVID, I lived on an aeroplane. I worked from an aeroplane for 2 or 3 days a week very often. As productive as I am when I'm in the office or in front of a customer or in front of my team. And I think that this acceleration of cloud and this acceleration of consumer behavior is what we're seeing now. And so we continue to work with Sydney University. We continue to make sure that there is a complete adoption and this business transformation in their space as they go forward. And it will be very interesting to see how the journey of talent coming out of the universities and the generations that we're seeing right now will come into the workforce and the type of performance that they will deliver and hit the ground running with. Shall I give it another bash? Can we advance the slide? Thank you. There we go. So what we've learned, and it really is about learning, and I think all of us in the room, we're here because we're passionate about transformation, we're passionate about technology, and we recognize that this cloud is not a to be, it's a here and now. And what we recognize is as we work with organizations and they transition, what are we doing? Our organizations are somewhere on a spectrum between business critical events and then working all the way through to workforce strategies. And I think Howie was so relevant in what he was saying. Do we spend the dollar on the technology now, or do we spend the dollar building the muscle for the future? And I think you've got to spend the dollar building right now for the future. And it's both. I don't think it's an either or. I think that's an and strategy. So what's the role of technology in the space? And I think the role of technology right now is in recognizing how do we become the enabler rather than the blocker? How do we accelerate that journey by providing all the security that we need? Those requirements have changed fundamentally, especially over the last 12 months. How do we enable moving from rapid growth, innovation, and strategic cost reduction to where we're going? The workforce will require the collaboration tools, automation, workflow. I love the story of, I sent the request through to the wife. Those are things that we do naturally, isn't it? Our whole world is in a digital world. There's very few elements of what we do and very few elements of any sector right now that doesn't rely on the technology and where we're going. And then finally, thank you, we could advance to the next slide. Finally, we spent a bit of time really starting to understand what is the workforce of 2035 going to look like. I remember, as most of us probably did, we look forward to the year 2000. Y2K was massive. And I was talking to my children, I have 2 teenage children the other day, and I said, oh, the world was worried something was going to end. And they were like, wow, you were alive then. Yep. And in 2010 and in 2020. But we're looking ahead now to 2035 and we're saying, hey, what is it going to be like? Because if I'm not investing now and I'm not preparing right now for what that's going to be, then I'm going to be caught behind. And in fact, I probably will be completely irrelevant and not be here. So the focus for us is, and the learnings that we took out of this really were be flexible. We know that organizations will increasingly need to be able to adapt to new technology even faster. There will be events and we need to be prepared for these events. We've all lived through something that we probably none of us anticipated would ever be real. Nobody ever thought I'm going to live through a world pandemic, and many of us were not prepared for this. So the flexibility and the element of preparedness needs to be there. Mostly be human. Be human and recognize that actually everything that we do is around enabling people. people, process, and technology, and the process and technology is only there to serve the humans. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I thank you for your time. I'm really looking forward to spending some time hearing all the other speakers in the panel especially, and I wish you all well, and it's really, really great to see you all in person.